Hi, my name is Brian Caffo, and welcome to this week's Ask Brian, part of our weekly newsletter. You can sign up for our newsletter in the video description below. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you get a chance, submit a question. I pick from a giant pool of them, and this week I'm going to talk about professors creating startup companies. So, this is a subject I know a little bit about, even though I haven't started a startup company. Because I've worked with our technology transfer department on some ed tech type things that we've created. So this student was a person who's a grad student, and I think they were really trying to decide between creating their own startup company or going and trying to be a faculty member somewhere. And what they were concerned is, well, they still want to do a startup, but can they do it as a faculty member? Okay, so let me describe this a little bit, but it's a kind of very complicated topic. So if if you're a faculty member and you want to learn more about this, you should talk to your technology transfer department. So that's statement number one. So most big research universities have a technology transfer department. So for example, Johns Hopkins has been in the business of technology transfer for a long time. Obviously the med school is very famous here. They'll create compounds or something like that, and they'll want to license them as treatments. So the technology transfer department of a university, division of a university, and big universities sometimes have multiple technology transfers at different schools. They are there to help you do that. And if you do it through your technology transfer department, then they will help you through your conflicts of interest. Everything will kind of sort of obviously be out in the open in a way that you're sort of generally covered. Now, a second thing that tends to go on with professors a lot is consulting that's done on the side. And most universities, in your contractual agreement, you have some statements about how much consulting you're allowed to do, and then some boundaries on those consulting arrangements. For example, you just can't sell your name to research that you don't believe in or that you haven't done any work on. So someone else wrote a paper, you just sell your credential, and you're really selling the university's credentials. That sort of thing will get you in trouble. But for generic consulting where you're selling your expertise, lots of faculty have done that. I've done that. That's no issue. The issue then comes into how much time and making sure that you follow university rules in terms of, avoiding things like conflicts of interest. And most universities then also have some conflicts of interest rules where you sign the conflicts of interest on a form or something like that. Now, things get harder when you start talking about creating side businesses that are unrelated to the university, not through the university technology transfer department. So in one sense, you can create all the businesses you want if they're completely unrelated to things where the university might have a reasonable intellectual property or some sort of claim on. So for example, I play classical guitar, not very well. Honestly, I'm just learning, but let's suppose I was really good at it in addition to being a professor, and I, created a company where I sold records. Or let's suppose you're really great at knitting and you create a craft store or something like that. Or you create a coffee shop on the side, right? There's maybe a little bit of a conflict there in terms of how much time you're devoting to it, but that's your hobby. Right? It has absolutely nothing related to your university responsibility, unless you actually happen to be say a classical guitarist at a school of music. So there, I think there's no trouble. I think other than time management, there's really no trouble. The where you get into trouble is if you create a company that's related to your existing university responsibilities, involving intellectual property that overlaps with something that you've developed at the university, and then you might get into some real potential legal hot water. But by and large, so what I would say is, don't do something like that. That would sort of be obviously dumb. What you can do is obviously you can talk to your own technology transfer department, and I've seen and found when talking to my university, and I've heard this is true of most universities, that they're extremely enthusiastic about professors licensing content, creating startups and creating value, and really getting their products and things like that translated into industry. I think they're they're quite happy about doing that, but they want to do it in a way that's consistent with the mission of the university, doesn't get the university into legal trouble by it remaining a nonprofit, and so on. And so if you work with the entities that are set up to help you with that, then I think it'll be quite easy. And then the person asks kind of the specific details. Now, the specific details varies from university to university. But I think the broad structure of agreements of startup companies created through university technology transfer has a generic structure. One is the university will take some amount of equity in the company that you create, presuming it's a company. If you just license a compound, that's a different arrangement. Presuming it's a company, the university will take some equity in it. You'll retain some ownership of the company depending on how you set it up. And then there's the question of the profit coming in to the company and the kind of time. The university is going to have. Your company is going to have to hire you and get your time for your expertise as well. So all those arrangements go through a specific model in which the university gets some action out of it, the professor gets some action out of it, and things are done in a way that they kind of honor the way in which the professor is obligated to the university. So usually there is, and I think the specific question was, there an equity stake for the university? And usually there is. If you start a company through technology transfer, the university is going to want some amount of equity in the company, in addition to some amount of the profit sharing with the company. But the model for that varies differently. One thing that I found in discussing this with our technology transfer department is what I thought was the arrangement for our university and what was the actual letter of the law for the university were quite different. And I thought what I thought was true was way worse for the professor than what was actually true. So I think it really behooves you to actually get them to explain it to you in detail, because some of it is hard to understand, and most of the time professors aren't really good at talking sort of business language. Certainly I'm in that case. So if you are in that boat, then meet with them and talk with them, but get them to explain the specifics of it to you. Okay, so that was a great question, something I know a little bit about, but not a ton about. And I'll have another answer next week. And subscribe if you get the chance. Sign up for the newsletter, and see you later.